Oh, hey guys. Welcome to Blue Ridge Silverhound. I'm your host, Sean, and this is actually a complimentary video to the one I did about a week ago in regards to coin grading and how to tackle it. Because I've had quite a few people that have responded to that particular video, and the big question is, I really want to get into it, and then it's like it doesn't matter what you say, you can't really dissuade them from doing it. But at the very least, you gotta give them kind of like the good advice, the words of wisdom, because I did it for a couple years. It was probably maybe 7 years ago. I actually documented a little bit of it in my early days of my YouTube channel. And by the time it was all said and done, I got to a point where I was experimenting with sending out these coins. Like I have great collections up right now. And the one coin that I was gunning for, because there wasn't a mint state 67, was this 1963D. 7 years ago, this coin never existed. It was considered to be, in terms of the Lincoln Memorial design, it was the rarest coin to find in a 67. At the time, 6-7 years ago, the highest grade was 66 plus. Nobody was able to crack the elusive 67, and eventually it happened. But I wanted to take some time to talk about and identifying a few of those kind of like specific dates, where if you were to send these coins out for grading, okay, number one, it's all skill. You gotta have the eagle eye. You gotta be, again, like I've said before, you have to be kind of particular, very stingy on the coins that you send out to PCGS or NGC. How do you determine which grading company you use is always a good one. I find that there are specific denominations, not necessarily dates or a coin of that type. But there is a few specific denominations that I would personally send out to NGC over PCGS, and we'll get to that here momentarily. But to get back to this story, this was a coin that I've tried for so long. It was even difficult to get a mint state 66. I've probably searched a good 10 plus thousand BU 1963Ds. I had submitted probably about 40 of them. I was extremely hard on myself when I was looking for these coins. But at the time, it was really hard to even obtain a mint state 66. So I got the submission back. I didn't even get a 66 plus. And then at the time, I think there was probably about 13 in the population at a 66 plus. The coin was not worth what a 67 is worth today. As you can see, this is a coin that sold September in 2018. With buyer's premium for $14,625. So you see the stakes are high. The possibilities are incredible when it comes to some of these condition-sensitive type dates. So I had submitted 40 of these coins. Roughly half of them, I'd have to say that it was probably like 18 or 19 of the coins came back as a mint state 66. Okay, that's no slight on my part. I mean, I was pretty good at actually, identifying the coins that I feel like were a great candidate for grading. I mean, look at this coin. I mean, it looks in pretty good shape for a 67, but if you dig down a little bit deeper on this coin here, you're going to find that the coin is not perfect. It has a bunch of planchet little nicks, the fields aren't 100% perfect. You got a few the tick marks here underneath the word Liberty. This would probably be a coin I would have submitted at the time. But because the pops at 67 was 0, I felt like, okay, well, I'm never going to crack 67. So might as well try and find a 66 plus, which was still a $2,300 coin at the time. So it was good money. But the main kind of goal in all of it was to find the 67. So in my earlier days of YouTube, probably when I was like 4 years into it or so, I mean, I talked a great deal about some of the more valuable Lincoln cents, Jefferson nickels, quarters, dimes, you name it. And it caught on in a huge way. I mean, there was a lot of coins that people were interested in knowing more about. And at that time, people were very, very interested in grading and how to do it. So, that was like, again, 2013, 2014. I was on YouTube for about 4 years at that point. But yeah, I talked a great deal about some of these coins because I was participating in the grading deal for a good 2 years. So, at the time I was very passionate about it. And then I ended up talking a lot more about it on video. Okay. So some of you probably remember a lot of my earlier works where I talked about, a top pop graded, for example, 68 or 69 quarter and, a few of the other keys to their respective series. But ladies and gentlemen, right? I mean, this is what we want to hit. I hate to say that we can't all use the money because we can. All right. This is a lot of money here. $14,000. Of course, you're going to get, a little bit less than that because, Great Collections takes their cut out of the transaction, and that's fine, But there's a lot of money to be made in modern coin grading. Okay, so I wanted to also briefly touch on the fact that the reason why that these newer modern post-1950 coins sell for a ton of money is because of the registry system. The registry system, there was a lot of deep pockets collectors, and it really truly is a rat race to find the finest coins of every single date for their series that they enjoy, assembling. And because of that, you have a number of bidders that are kind of like going to war, trying to one up the other person, and then they end up, as you can see, spending $14,000 on a coin. But that's just the way it goes, and that in a nutshell is the registry system. All right, so this is pennies. Let me just go back here. You see a bunch of double to die 69S's, a 70S. Again, these are all kind of like unique scenarios because these varieties are highly coveted and they're worth a lot of money in just about every conceivable grade. But when we get to things just, a non-variety, non-error coin like the 63D, I think I saw another one here, which was I believe it's a 74. 74 is such a random date of Lincoln cent. Mint State 68. If you can imagine how tough a 68 would be to obtain on a 70s era Lincoln cent, I would say you would probably have much better luck trying to win $10,000 on a scratch-off lottery ticket. No joke. But you can see this one sold for $9,200. There's a few others in here. 86. I mean, come on. This is Michael J. Fox era right here. 1986 Lincoln cent, Mint State 69 red, for $8,718. I mean, it's easier said than done. You are going to have to buy a bunch of brilliant uncirculated rolls, which exist in the marketplace. As you guys know, there's 50 cents to a roll. You're going to end up paying anywhere from $5 to $10 per roll. And then you search through them. Ideally, you want to search through rolls that have never been searched through. So some of those very God to honest, rolls are definitely going to work. And then here's a 79D. Pop 1. That means it's the only one at Mint State 68 red. Sold for over $8,000. So there's a lot of money to be made. Here's a 98 down here for $7,800. There's a lot of money to be made, but you got to keep in mind, there is something that exists. It's called the safety net. A lot of these coins don't have that. All right. So let's say you aimed hard. You sent out 20 1979Ds. to PCGS and you think, oh yeah, one of them's going to grade out at least a 68. The coin's gorgeous. What's the safety net if the coin grades out mid-state 67 or 67 plus? Or let's say you completely bombed on the grade aspect of it and it went all the way down to like a 66. The safety net is the specific grade, the lowest grade that you could obtain for a specific date of coin to where you're still going to come out ahead. Okay, you're still going to be able to make money. Let's say on average, through a bulk submission, you will spend $15 to $20 per coin. And then you have to take into consideration shipping and everything like that. So when you add everything up together, let's say your cost for grading for that specific coin, and again, we're not talking about the amount of money you spent to buy the roll. Okay, that's something for another time, or that's something that you could add in afterwards. And it's probably the more negligible part of it. It's a very small amount of money depending on the date. But let's say you're into a coin for like $22. Okay, you got to know that your safety net has to be over $22. Ideally, my word of kind of like wisdom through all this is the value of the coin at its safety net grade should be at least 3 to 4 times what the submission fee is. Okay, and I'm going to show you a tool that is public and is available for everyone to use. So we're going to get to that here in a moment, but this is Lincoln Cents. Here is Jefferson nickels, and I went into the Great Collections archive, so you could check out all of the realized sales for all the the specific series of coins, whether Jefferson nickels, Washington quarters, Lincoln cents. You get the big idea. So the most notable one, and of course nickels go all the way back to 39 or 38 rather. We have this 42D. That's sold for $25,312. Now, the Jefferson nickels is a little bit different because collectors value and they covet what they call strike designation. See this little FS here? That's for full steps. A lot of you, or probably 100% of my viewing audience, has heard about that designation before. Okay, so this one is also toned, so it's got a little bit something extra with it. But it's a mid-state 68 full steps. Okay, so what if you send a coin like this out thinking that, oh yeah, it's a full steps coin. It looks very well high graded, not a lot of nicks or scratches. And it comes back a mid-state 66 with no full steps. You guys need to know about that. You know, is it a coin that's still worth $60 to $100 at its safety net grade designation? So if we come down the line here, I mean, we have some pretty nice rare dates with full steps. 53S, this one sold for $20,812. Of course, it's a mid-state 65, which just kind of like shows you how rare it is because this is a mid-grade. It's not a 68 like this one, which is 2 points away from perfect. But if you look on down the list, 45D, that's a silver war nickel, mid-state 68 plus. I mean, that's a huge grade right there. Full steps, $16,312. And then there's just a myriad of various other, 50s, 40s. There's a 39S. Here's an 82. That's available for buy now of $13,000. Mid-state 67 with full steps. All right, so this is all good and gravy. These are the coins that sell out at the peak. All right, so if it's the top grade, there's only a few of them that exist. Congratulations, you've hit kind of like that crown jewel or that white whale of that specific date, and then now you're ready to sell. All right, so let's talk about how to identify which coins have the safety nets. Okay, and you're going to see this. It's actually on PCGS.com. It's under Price Guide. This is a very invaluable tool if you're going to get into the business of grading coins. Okay, I want you guys, for those of you out there that think, you know what, I could go ahead and find any one of those coins and it looks 10 times better than the one that you submitted on like your Monday market report. That's me. And I'm ready to sell. Or I need to send it to PCGS or NGC. All right, so here's your next steps. I want you to go into PCGS or NGC's website and take a look at the price guide and take a look at the pops. How many of those exist at its highest levels? So we're at the price guide. We're actually on the Lincoln Cent wheat reverse. So this covers from 1909 to 1958. And I stayed kind of like in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. All right. And we're just going to pick just a regular date that has no specific variety or anything like that. So we have in 1948. There's no strike designation, by the way. There's just color designation. There's red, brown, and brown. And that's all based off of the color of the planchet, or the coin, rather. So if we go all the way to the right, all right, so we see these dollar values here on this graph, or chart rather. Okay, and if you look up, you just kind of like scroll, follow the graph all the way up to the top margin, you'll have the respective grades. All right. So you notice that in each block, there are two prices for that specific grade. Okay. The second larger price indicates a plus designation. If you go here all the way to the left, you'll see plus. That is just another fancy way of saying this is a half a point graded higher in that numerical designation. All right. So the 48 that we see here, you begin to see right here at Mid-State 65, these are price guide values, by the way. The coin in 65, full red, okay, it says $30, but that coin probably sells for about half that because it's a somewhat undesirable numerical grade, because the registry set people don't see that as being anything special for their set. That might be the perfect kind of like run of the mill. I want to fill up this date with a really nice, pleasing example for a Lincoln Cent set, a Mid-State 65. You'd be hard to go wrong, doing that. For $15, $20, that seems like a very solid proposition for you. Okay, so if you go all the way here, Mid-State 66 has a value of $125. That's not bad. In 66 plus, it's even better. It's $300. And then here in 67, you could see $2,250. And then in 67 plus, $4,500. Now, the big reason why that there are plus dollar values here for the plus grades is because there are some that exist at that level. So you see this column here for the 68. You notice that there's no prices there, is because there are no 68s for those particular dates. So, I mean, you could just imagine the possibilities. What if you found just the perfect penny that's Mid-State 68 for a 1948? Okay, you know it's going to be at least $4,500, but that's for a 67 plus. So do you think someone will pay probably 2, 3, or 4 times the plus grade here for the very first and only Mid-State 68 1948? Probably. All right, so this is a great example of what I call a safety net. All right, so you have the top dollar value, $4,500, and then if it didn't quite shoot that and you got a 67, it's worth this, $2,250. That's nothing to sneeze at. And then even if you went down to Mid-State 66, it's got a price guide value of $300. But usually right here in this box with the 66 and 66 plus, this is where you need to pay close attention. You need to look back one grade point for every coin, like 47S. All right? It's either Mid-State 67 or bust. But in 1948, you have a little bit of a safety net. Okay, you could go down to a 66 plus, and it's probably worth a few $100s. Okay, in Mid-State 66, that's probably a $60 coin, in spite of the fact that it says 125. Keep in mind, this price guide is like no better than an actual printed price guide. Very rarely do coins sell for this amount of money. Now, the highest graded coin sometimes exceeds the dollar value that you see right here. All right, which is not out of the question, especially right now in this collectibles market. That coin right there, I could see selling for about $6,000 if the pops are low. All right, so we see a few coins with nice safety nets. Here's another good 151. That's a kind of like an oddball, date, because a 51 is relatively common, but it's very rare to find in this higher state of preservation. I mean, look at this 67 plus, $8,500. Pretty crazy, huh? Let's go to the last page where we see some of the more later dates here. 53s, here's 54, which is considered the key high-grade coin for the 50s Lincoln Wheat cents. As you can see, a mid-state 67 has a value of $23,500. But the good news is, if you didn't hit 67 and instead you got a 66 plus, it's worth $650. That's your safety net. If you look at a 54D, there's no safety net under a 67. It's either 67 or 67 plus or bust. Whereas on the Philadelphia 1954, you have a little bit of wiggle room, but you got to make sure your coin is like perfect, no carbon spots, and stuff like that. And this is kind of the tool, the formula I used to kind of get myself out of the hole back when I was doing modern coin grading back in 2014. Was I was just submitting every single coin that I found, whether it's through a mint set, going through BU rolls. I was just submitting. Okay, not taking any regard of the safety net factor on all of these, and then I ended up getting my butt whooped. But it was only after I ended up losing money and I realized, like, ooh, you know what? This is the definition of insanity. You keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. So I went back to the drawing board and I knew I needed to get out of this hole, because for those of you that like to dip your toe into the grading scene, you got to keep in mind that every single coin costs money to grade. And usually you don't want to send just one or two coins. You're kind of really limiting your ability to get some of those high grades. So you send out a dozen or two or more, 50, 100. I've seen people do these massive submissions, 500 coins, 1,000 coins. I mean, it gets pretty pricey. But as you can see, there are, when you get later into the 50s of wheat cents, there's big money to be made at the top level, but there's barely any safety net. This right here, this 57, 66 plus for $200, I do not trust at all. All right, I think that's probably a coin where it's going to be a seller at like $50. But look at this, $12,000. But again, it's mint state 67 or bust. There are other coins that exhibit way better safety nets for the next grade point lower. So this 66 column here. All right, so that's the Lincoln Wheat cent. Let's go ahead and check out nickels, because that's another popular one that folks like to play around with. As you can see, Jefferson nickels has a whole heck of a lot more possibilities with greater safety nets. More specifically, when you get into the 40s and 50s, it's more apparent on some of these. Like for example, let's see here. This 42 type 1 with full steps, it has to have full steps. You can see you have a pretty good safety net to as high as mid-state 65 at that 220 level. And then you have your specialty varieties in there. I mean, look, here's 46. So the top level price is $22,500 in a 67 with full steps. See, full steps. And then there's a 46 just regular mint state. Okay, so you don't want to submit a mint state coin. You want to send, which has soft like steps on Monticello. You want to go ahead and send out a coin that has hammered steps and have it look very presentable. I mean, did you guys know a 46 is one of the rarest coins for a high grade with full steps? in the 40s. So you got 22.5 and 67. You got 4,500 and 66 plus, and then $725 in regular 66. And keep in mind, 65 with full steps is 265. So you have a few safety nets here. You know, you found a really nice coin in an album that your grandmother gave you that has full steps. You have a little bit of confidence in sending this coin out, because I would. You know, there's a number of coins here with pretty good safety nets. Here, 48 full steps. See that? There are no 67s. That's a tougher date. But look at the, the values all the way down to 65 full steps. So this is the tool that I went back and I did more research, and I was ultra selective in the coins that I was cherry picking when I was going to buy BU rolls. I focused less on, say, things like 1948S in mint state and full steps. I mean, there's not a whole lot of value when, a few dates later you have this 49D, which apparently it's a little bit tougher to find with full steps, and that's why the values carry this kind of big premium this way. I ended up going back to the drawing board, and I was cherry picking coins and full rolls, BU rolls, that had many increments and many levels of safety nets. So that way, and it helped out a good deal, because there are coins that, say for example, this 43p Jefferson nickel that has $14,000. I was hitting, 2 or 3 or 4 coins at like a 67 full steps. And I did exceedingly well. I sold those coins for like 2.25. And my initial investment on the coin and the grading submission was probably like $28. And I did exceedingly well. And I ended up recouping back, approximately $6,000 in losses, all mostly because of the grading submission fees that I had spent at the time. But I ended up just washing my hands with it. I know it's kind of like a very popular and very progressive aspect of numismatics and coin collecting, but I wanted to share this trick, this tool of the trade, so to speak, of jumping into coin grading. And you're going to spend a lot of time researching the PCGS or NGC price guide, and you're just going to dissect the information. Okay, and before we jump off the video, and I'm sorry it took so long. Again, I had alluded to earlier in the video that there are certain coins you want to send out to NGC compared to PCGS. Nickels is one of those coins I would have no problem sending to NGC because of their strike designation choices. They can either do a 5 full steps or a 6 full steps. So if you have a coin, the steps look good, but maybe the bottom step is a little bit weaker, that would be a candidate for NGC. And it would be all gravy because the coin would come back 5 FS. Sure, it's not going to be worth nearly as much as the 6 full steps, but it's worth more than a regular mint state non-full steps coin every day of the week. Look at this 44S in full steps. You have safety net all the way down to mint state 65. This is remarkable. But again, this is the type of exhaustive research that you're going to do if you're going to get into the business of buying coins to send to grading and then flip them to make massive profits. I've thought about getting back into it. I might do that as time permits. You got to have the time, and I would say you need to have the resources to be able to confidently and comfortably do this and experiment with it, because you're going to get to a point, which I did toward the back end of my modern coin grading career, where you're going to be in the zone, auto zone, right? It's going to be automatic. You're going to be sitting there, you're going to go bam, bam, bam. You're going to pull out this coin, this coin, this coin. Your eyes are going to be bloodshot and tired. But, there are people that make tens of thousands of dollars doing this very same practice. And don't forget, utilize the archives of sold listings, not only through great collections, but heritage auctions, Stack's Bowers. You need to know exactly how much these coins are commanding on the secondary market today. Because, you know, a safety net might say 165. Is that really a $165 value coin? Or is it more like 40? Because they haven't updated this price figure. I don't know. But I would certainly want to know that. But, you know, that's, again, this is kind of like look at the 53S. That's a rare coin in full steps. But as you can see, it has very many multitudes of various safety nets, even at mint state 63. It's a rare coin in 63, I would imagine. But I hope you guys find a little bit of extra use using this. I know it's all like graphs and numbers and it probably bore you to death, but I'm telling you, if you can master researching not only the PCGS price guide, but also taking a look at the sold archival listings or the page on all these big websites, these auction websites, you are in like Flint. And this is, again, I know a few people that do this religiously, and this is their career, and they're having fun, and they're making probably more money than they could count. But this is such a huge opportunity for people that want to get into it. You know, I'll probably give it another stab sometime in the future. But this is really fun. But it can become unfun if you're not careful. And that's why you need to research this information. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to go ahead and do it for this one. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed today's content. Oh boy, a lot of fun. And yeah, would love to hear your thoughts. Go ahead and post them below in the comments section. Coinaholics, we are discovering together. Best of luck. And if you have any reservations whatsoever, reach out to us. Not only myself, but also the folks at the live coin Q&A channel where we do live streams every Monday. And we answer a lot of your coin questions. You guys take care, have fun, and I will see you on the next coin video. So long.